So I saw a statement on the social media this week that deeply troubled me. Now, it's a long read, but have a listen to this. The person said, and I quote, "Just so you know, cohabitation is a must for me. I will never marry any woman until she has lived under my roof for at least 6 months to 1 full year. No shortcuts, no excuses. This is how I protect our future. I need to see the real her every single day, not the weekend version, not the dating mask. I watch how she sleeps, when she wakes up. If she sleeps beyond 7 a.m. often, that's a hard red flag." He goes on to say, "Lazy woman reigns a home. I won't accept it. I test our sexual compatibility the right way. No pretending, no surprises on the wedding night. I love sex and I expect us to have at least twice in a week. Not a woman that will be telling me I'm not in the mood or I don't feel like." I observe how she handles real disagreements and conflicts. Does she stop cooking my food because she's angry? Does she lock me out of my own house because I came home late from work or hustle? Does she challenge my authority? I see everything. No hiding behind sweet talks or short visits. Cohabitation exposes character. It separates serious wife material from time wasters and pretenders. I don't marry blind. I guard my peace, my home, my life. And he ends it with, "Above all, I love God." Honestly, for me, the most disturbing part of this is the fact that he ended it by saying, "Above all, I love God." Now, when I read this, one of the first things I realized is that you might read this and say, and and scoff and say, "Nah, this one is not serious." But you'll be surprised how many women would be willing to still do all these things that he has said he wants them to do before they get married. You'll be surprised how many people will be willing to do this and say, "Oh, at least he wants marriage. At least he's ready to be committed. Yeah, so I don't mind doing all of these things." You will be surprised how many Christian women would actually think like that. Which is why today I want us to calmly, biblically, and with common sense break this down point by point and try and debunk every of these statements and explain why this mindset is not just dangerous, but is also something that no Christian, man or woman should even be considering. Now, let's start with the part where he said cohabitation is a must for him. See, the Bible is very clear about sexual purity and boundaries in relationship. See, the Bible is very, very clear about sexual purity and about boundaries in the relationship phase. Living together as a man and a woman before marriage is not a neutral decision. It doesn't come by itself. It is going to involve sexual intimacy. There is no how it will not involve sexual intimacy, in my opinion. And the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 18 does not say avoid sexual immorality if you can, or avoid sexual immorality until you are sure that you are going to get married. It says flee sexual immorality, and sexual immorality involves when a man and a woman who are not married have sex, because the bed is meant to stay and remain undefiled. A Christian cannot claim to love God and still, intentionally design a system that, involves disobedience to God and then say that is the way you used to test if a woman is actually this or a woman is actually that. You can't claim to be a Christian if you do that. Now, the part where he says, "I need to see the real her every day." Now, first of all, on the surface, that sounds like maybe that's actually responsible. I can understand that. But deep down, you will actually realize that it's flawed, very flawed. Because the thing is, you can't discover someone's true character by monitoring them like a surveillance project or like you're some CCTV wizard or something. You can't, that's not how you determine a person's character. It actually goes way beyond that. And the truth is, even if you try that, it's funny how that you realize that you can cohabit with someone before marriage and think the person is all good and get married to the person, and you still see some characters that you did not see when you were cohabiting. So the whole thing is just a farce. The whole thing of you have to cohabit so that you see the real her every day, you see her real face without makeup. It's just a farce. It never works. It never really works. And it's actually statistically proven that 31 to 36% of women who cohabit before marriage end up getting a divorce. That's a huge number. And that just tells us that the point of cohabiting to test and the whole thing doesn't work. It's a farce, like I said. And here's the thing: marriage is built on trust. Marriage is not built on control. When you say "I do" to a person, it is you looking at a person and telling the person that I've never seen you at your most vulnerable. I've never seen you at your weakest. I've never seen you, wake up in the morning, sleep at night. I've never seen what your real face is. I've never seen you when you're at your most natural. But I trust you enough to be able to put my life in your hands. And I'm basing that trust on the fact that you know God. I'm basing that trust on the fact that you love God. I'm basing that trust on the fact that you fear God. Because if you do fear God, and I also do, I think we'll be safe in each other's hands. The part of if she sleeps beyond 7 a.m., that's a red flag. That's hard to believe. That's hard to understand. What if she works late at night? What if there are some people who are not morning persons? There are some people who they just don't wake up early. Maybe they've never really worked a job that, would have them wake up early. So what about those people? Are they lazy? Does that mean they're lazy because they don't wake up at 7 a.m.? Right? And I know that there are sometimes you'd have to, in family, right? There are sometimes you might have to get up early to take care of kids or to take the kids to school or something. But there are some people that are genuinely not early birds. So does that mean they're lazy? And where is this stereotype coming from? And any man who is willing to micromanage every detail of your life, including when you wake up and when you sleep, that man will micromanage, like I said, everything. He would micromanage everything. And the woman will just realize that you're not living your life, you're living someone else's life. He goes on to say, a lazy woman ruins a home. Well, that is true. That's maybe the only thing I agree with in the whole thing he said. But also, a lazy man in fact, a lazy man ruins a home more than a lazy woman ruins a home. And it's crazy. So you saying a lazy woman ruins a home is true, but it's not just a woman thing. A lazy man even ruins a home more than a lazy woman would. And guess what? You don't determine laziness by cohabitation. That's not how you determine laziness. Anyone who is lazy, you will know you don't have to live with the person. And the point of him testing her sexual compatibility the right way. What is the right way? What do you mean by testing her sexual compatibility the right way? What do you even mean by that? Now, I'm not married, so I'm not the best person to talk about sexual compatibility in marriage. But what I know is what the Bible teaches. That sexual compatibility is not figured out by having sex before marriage. It's about learning on the job. It's about learning better about each other as you progress. I mean, you have your whole lives for it. It's not something you figure out before you get married. Factually, any man who prioritizes having sex before marriage and says it's because he wants to be sure of compatibility or whatever, he's just lying. He's trying to satisfy his appetite. And I'm a man and I'm saying that. He's trying to satisfy his appetite. That's why he's saying that. Hey there, if you're enjoying the video so far, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Another point he made was that he wants to observe how she handles conflict. Well, I think that is true. That's something that should be worked on during courtship, where you must be able to see how your partner handles conflict. But you don't need to live together before you observe that. You don't need to. Conflict resolution is important, but the framework again is wrong. Marriage is not some sort of, or courtship now, is not some sort of probation system where, one person is observing the other person to ensure that the person meets all the parameters, and then it's not that. That's not what God intended it to be. You can observe these things without living together. You can observe how she resolves conflicts with her friends. You can observe how she resolves conflicts even with you. These are patterns that you can watch out for without necessarily cohabiting. Another point he made was, does she challenge my authority? See, that sentence alone should concern any Christian woman. Authority in the Bible, the authority that the man has in the home in the Bible is not dictatorship. The husband is the head of the home as Christ is the head of the church. Christ is not a dictator to us. Christ loves us. Christ serves us. He served us. That's what he taught us. That leadership is service. It's not about, like my pastor would say, it's not about being the head of the home. It's not about being the coconut head. Yes, it's important that the wife respects her husband and submits to her husband as the Bible says she should. But it's not fear. It's not dictatorship. You're not a military general. That's not what you are. You are to serve her. You are to serve the family. You are to serve your kids. And if you understand the point of service, you wouldn't carry authority on your head the way it seems in this message. And the final point, above all, I love God. Like I said, this is the most dangerous line in the entire statement. Because, hey, you don't declare that you love God. It's not a declaration. Well, part of it is a declaration, but that's not what shows that you love God. It's a demonstration. It's a demonstration. You show it. You don't say. Jesus said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And if you claim to love him, you will keep his commandments. And one of those commandments the Bible gives is, of course, to flee sexual immorality. Stay away from sexual lusts. And cohabiting is the simple, straightforward passage to sexual immorality. See, no woman in her right mind should submit to any man that treats marriage like an inspection and treats sex like some sort of requirement, and takes leadership as some sort of control. No woman should submit to that kind of man. And no man in his right mind should think that this is some form of biblical masculinity. It's not. It's just being unreasonable at best. And if we want a biblical marriage, if we want a marriage that is, centered around God, then we should be able to resoundly debunk these ungodly frameworks, no matter how confident they might sound. What do you think, though? I'd like to know your opinion on this. What do you think about this? I'd like to know your opinion. Drop it in the comment. If you've enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. My name is Goodness Eze. See you on the next video. Adios.